today's video, we're going to take a look at external drive editing in LumaFusion 3.0. Now, 3.0 is still in beta. It's expected to be released fairly soon, so around 2 weeks time, 1 week, depending on where you live in the world. I will also put up a post on Instagram and here on YouTube whenever this is live, so you can head over to App Store and download the updated version. The updated version is completely free and it comes for iPad and iPhone. So in today's video, we're gonna go through everything that you need to know about external drive editing, and my iPad has 6 GB of storage left, so we're still gonna import footage from the Sony a7S III here and then over to the SSD disk so we can work without taking up any storage in LumaFusion. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, and of course, if you're new here, if this is the first time, welcome, really nice to see you here. Make sure to hit that button so you don't miss out when the update is coming as well. And if you want any of the lower thirds or LumaFusion presets, make sure to check out RobHK vlogs down in the description below. Now, without further ado, let's head over to the iPad and go through the process of using an SSD with your workflow. So now that we moved over to the iPad and over to LumaFusion and also have the Samsung T5 SSD disk connected to the iPad, we can use the brand new feature external drive editing from the LumaFusion's 3.0 update. Now this might not be enabled by default, so you might want to go down to settings, over to preferences, scroll down until you find turn on or off external drive editing. Now, if we happen to have this off and we import any files from the SSD disk, you will see an indication on the side here that the clips are being downloaded. So let's go on and select a few clips here and drag them over to our timeline so you can see the indication that you will see if you have the external drive editing turned off. So here you can see that LumaFusion is now downloading the media to your iPad, which is also taking up space. Now, if we just remove these and we go over to the settings here again, go over to preferences and scroll down until we see turn on external drive editing, tapping on that, and then tapping on turn on external drive editing, we're now able to edit directly from the external drive. So if we go over to the selection here and just select all of the clips here, there's 100 clips and a total of 22 gigabytes. So if we now tap hold on one of the clips and drag all the clips over to our timeline, you will no longer see any indication here that the files are being downloaded. So as we can see, no indication of the 100 files being downloaded to your iPad. So if we now go over to export, movie, and photos, we can see that the file is, or the export will be 22.06 gigabytes large, and the space on our iPad is only 13.45. So that means your export will be incomplete once you get to the certain point of the export, which is around 13.45 gigabytes. Now you are able to export your video over to an external drive. So if you are low on space, let's say this, for example, we have 13.45 gigabytes available on the iPad, and I want this 22 gigabyte large video to be exported over to the external drive, then we will go back, and instead of tapping on photos, we will tap on files. Now once we tapped on files, there will still be an indication here, but you don't have to worry about that because you have the external drive connected, and that's the one you're going to export to. We're just going to tap on export, and here we have the gaming project here selected, so we're going to go on and resize this to just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and tap on done, and now we're going to tap on export. Now this is going to take quite some time because it's 22 gigabytes of export, so we're going to come back when this is done, and we're going to see if we can locate the file within the SSD disk and see that none of the 13.45 gigabytes available on the iPad have been used. So now that we have the video exported to the external drive, let's move over to the files folder here to see if we can find it. And here we have it. The file ended up with a total of 26.27 gigabytes. Now let's move back to LumaFusion and see how much space there is available if we try to export this to our iPad and see if anything has changed. So if we move over to the share button and go over to movie and photos, we can now see that we still have the same amount of available space, 13.45 gigabytes of available space, and that means everything got exported directly over to the external drive. So from the external drive now, you can just airdrop that over to different devices, and you can upload it to YouTube, you can upload it to other social media platforms, and basically do what you want to do with the file exported to the SSD. Now you can also plug this into additional devices if you are using let's say other iPads and iPhones and MacBooks and so on. You can take the SSD disk and plug into those. Now when it comes to external drive editing on the other devices, you cannot do this on the iPhones and you cannot do it on the iPads, which does not have a USB-C connection. So if we move over to the iPhone here, I'm going to show you the example. So if we go into LumaFusion right here now, and if we go over to the settings menu and then over to preferences and scroll down under advanced settings, the first thing you're gonna see is basically preview. So this is set to balanced, and if we go over to the settings on the iPad here and over to preferences, scroll down, and the first thing under advanced settings is gonna be turn off external drive editing. So you can't do it on your iPhone and you cannot do it on older iPads, which does not have USB Type-C connection. However, you can still connect your SSD disk. So if I wanted to have the same clip that I rendered and exported to this from this iPad over to my iPhone, so instead of airdropping those 26 gigabytes of video, I could now just plug this into the iPhone or to an older iPad and then access the video from the external drive. But we cannot edit from an external drive on older iPads, which does not have USB Type-C connection, and the iPhones, doesn't matter which type of iPhone you have, because none of them has USB Type-C, so it's not going to be possible and it's not going to be fast enough. I'm not sure if this actually is the case and if it should be possible or is possible, but anyway, it's locked. If so, it's locked by lumatouch for a reason. So keep that in mind. You would need an iPad with the USB Type-C connection to edit directly from an external drive. Now let's take a look at linking media and how we can get our media back after disconnecting our drive. So if we disconnect the external drive here now, so we have the SSD plugged out, and if we now go over to do a playback of this, you can see that we cannot scrub because everything is plugged out and the media is basically not there. So one thing is that you can see on the different clips here that there is an icon showing a disk. So that means this is footage and media from an external drive. Now, if we tap on edit on this, we will not be able to get any information because it's not connected, it's not there. It's basically just empty placeholders which is being placed on your timeline in the order that you place them because of the media being stored on your SSD. Now here you can also see that we have everything grayed out, sort of. It's indicated that the media is not available, it's not on your device. So to get this back onto your device, if you go over to some of them, you can see that these are basically stored on the iPad from earlier on, and we have some here which is not stored, meaning these will either have to be downloaded to the iPad itself, or you will have to connect the exact same external drive that you connected. So if we take the SSD disk now and plug into the iPad again, then nothing will happen. You will need to refresh this to make them available on your timeline again. So there's a few different ways that you can do this. The easiest way is basically to double tap on the clip, and then everything will be getting back to the timeline. So if that doesn't work, then you can go out of the project and select another project. And once you selected another project, you can then go back to your current project, which has the footage from the external drive. And once you get into that project again, you can now scrub through and do a playback of the footage that you imported from the external drive, and everything should be back. And as we can see here, there is no red markers on the touch bar either, meaning all of the footage has been re-imported from the external drive to LumaFusion. So let's talk about the conveniency of using an external drive and how this can actually speed up your workflow. Now, we've already gone through how we export video to the external drive and how we link it back once the media is missing after we plugged out the SSD disk. Now, in the top left section here, we have source, and once we get over to source and tap on files, we will see that we can add a link to folder. So by tapping on add link to folder, it basically allows you to link folders which you have on your iPad and also connected to your iPad, in this case the Samsung T5, link that to LumaFusion and then just drag and drop from those folders. So the first thing is that I'm going to do is to add the entire folder to LumaFusion. So I'm going to tap on done. And as we can see now, the Samsung T5 has been added to the file section here within LumaFusion. When it comes to things and assets like lower thirds and social media icons and so on, which I tend to use quite often, then I go over to files again and add another link to folder, and then I find that folder which has those things I want to apply, and those things I apply quite often. So if we go over to, let's see if we find something, just YouTube stingers for example. So I'm selecting the YouTube stingers folder and tapping on done. Now the YouTube stingers folder is applied here inside the file section as well, meaning stingers and so on. If I use that a lot and I really want to have a fast drag and drop a method of applying them, now I link that folder to LumaFusion, right? So instead of going into the Samsung T5 and going through all the folders here to find that exact folder with the stingers, I've now linked that to LumaFusion, so I can simply tap on that folder and I have all the different stingers here ready to just be selected and dragged over to my timeline. Now this works very well if you have, let's say you have your own custom lower thirds, or if you have lower thirds which you have got from RobHKvlogs.com, then you can do pre-renders of those so they are transparent, and you can add all of those to the external drive and then add a link to that folder. So when you have a finished video, you can simply go into the lower thirds folder and then just name them whatever you want to name them, and then drag them over as you want, overlapping, and do whatever you want to do, and then you're basically done. So as a finishing touch, that would be a really nice way of adding lower thirds and other social media pop-ups to your video, and it gives you really fast and simple access to the files as well. Now before I forget, there is also one more thing that you can do to relink your media. So now we disabled the external drive here again, and we're gonna go over to another project. Let's just go into this. And once we get out and over to the project we were working on, you can see that we have the missing media, and just tapping OK and going into the project here, you can see that most of this is red. You can also see that here on the touch bar. Now plugging in the external drive again, And moving over to the button here, down here you can see that there is a new button, and this is the drive. Now instead of double tapping on the clip, you can also tap on this button right here, which will then locate the media which you have on your external drive. And now as you can see, everything got blue and there's no missing media, and everything is back to normal and linked to the project. Now, where the external drive editing really shines when it comes to saving storage is when you import your footage directly from your camera over to the external drive for then to start your editing inside of LumaFusion. So let's go on and do that. So we're going to unplug the Samsung T5 here, and we're going to take this Satechi multi-ported dongle here, which has a USB Type-C at the end, and then it has 3 ports of USB Type A and HDMI and SD card and micro SD card slot and Ethernet and another USB Type-C port here for charging. So what we're going to do with this is plug that one into the iPad, and we're then going to take the Samsung T5 and connect that with a USB Type A cable, which is also included, by the way. And we're going to take this, plug into the dongle. So now we have the SSD connected again to the iPad via the dongle, and we're going to take the footage from the Sony a7S III here, import that over to the SSD disk without taking up any storage on the iPad. So if we go over to the iPad storage here and we take a look at the storage, I have 6 GB left. So I've used 250 out of 256. So we're going to go back over to files folder, and we're going to connect the Sony a7S III to the multi-port dongle here as well, and then transfer the files. So we now connected everything to the iPad. We're going to go on and turn on the camera here, and it should pop up here any second now. So there we have one of the folders, and there we have the 2 remaining folders here as well. So let's go into one of them here and see if we can find some clips. So here we have a bunch of photos and some videos as well. We have a video clip here which is 7.72 gigabytes, and we also have some other shots here and photos. You know what, we're gonna take all of them and just import those over to the Samsung T5. So we're gonna go to the Samsung T5 here and create a new folder, Sony, something like that. And we're gonna go back to the folder here, find the clips, gonna select those. Now let's just tap hold on one of them here and get them into a stack. Go over to the T5 and let's see if we can find that Sony folder. There we have it. And we're going to drag this over to that folder. So now if we tap on that folder, you can see that everything is being imported. We only had 6 GB available storage on the iPad, so we had 250 gigabytes used and 256 gigabytes available space in total, so that leaves us with 6 gigabytes left. Already by importing the first clip here, which is 7.72 gigabytes, we exceed those 6 gigabytes of free storage, and using this method, you can easily just do all of your work with an iPad that can run external editing with LumaFusion. So this is just gonna download, and we're gonna get back to LumaFusion after, and we're gonna start putting these things over to our timeline and still see that we have those 6 gigabytes left. So we now have all of the files transferred over to the Samsung T5. Let's go on and zoom in a tiny bit here, and let's now move over to the LumaFusion app. First thing, we can turn off the camera because we do not need it anymore. Just remove that, and we can keep the SSD connected to the dongle and just keep it like that. And let's move over to LumaFusion. And we're gonna go over to the Samsung T5, and then we're gonna locate the Sony folder. We have it right here, and you can see that we have all the media here as well. So we can now take that record from the studio here and drag that over to the timeline. You can see it's not being downloaded here at all. So this is working directly from the SSD disk, and this was also 17 minutes long. So if we go to the beginning here and just scrub through, everything is working fine, and you can see the smoothness of the scrubbing here. And if we go over to export and movie, photos, you can see that we have the 5.99 gigabytes available space here. And the reason why this has gone down since the beginning of this video is simply because of the on and off import with and without the external drive editing on. This is by far the most convenient and easiest workflow when it comes to saving space. So having a Samsung T5 or any other Samsung T7, T5 and T7 would be my recommendation for editing, but it also works with this is Western Digital, quite you know, it's 4 terabytes and it's really cheap. It's very slow, but it works with this as well. So as long as you have a drive that you can connect, start with that one and then upgrade if you need to have anything that goes faster. So there you have LumaFusion's 3.0 update with external drive editing. Really easy to use and really convenient, and I'm sure most of you will take advantage of this and that it will really speed up your workflow. Now keep in mind, as I said, you need to have a device with USB Type-C to be able to connect this and work with the external drive editing. Now if I take this iPad right here and I go into LumaFusion, I'm not sure if you're gonna see it on screen here, but if I scroll down and we go to advanced settings here, you might be able to see, maybe not, there is no edit from external drive there. So this is the 2017 or 2016 something iPad, and it doesn't work with an older iPad because this one has the lightning connection, so you will need to have the USB Type-C connection. Anyway, that's gonna be the end of today's video. Let me know in the comment section below if you enjoyed this video and what type of external drive do you have or would you consider getting. And whilst you're down there, you know, hit the subscribe button, that would be really appreciated. Like and comment as well for the algorithm. And with that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.